Let's talk about the very first things that you need to do when you get to a new country. If you haven't seen us before, we're Eric and Sarah, and for the last year and a half, we've been traveling full-time around the world, and we just do this all the time, so we know what we're talking about.
We know a couple things. Maybe. Tip number 1 is to let someone know that you have arrived safely in the new country. This may seem like kind of an obvious thing, but it's just really important to let your loved ones know that you have arrived. Your mother will thank you. Your mother will thank us.
Your partner will thank you.
Yeah. Just tell someone that you've arrived safely. Because someone's probably worried about you.
That's right.
Tip number 2 is to get out some cash in the local currency and to figure out the ATMs. There's still a lot of countries in the world that rely on cash instead of card, so it's always important to get out cash in the local currency when you first arrive. Many people like to do this in advance, but we find the exchange rate a lot better when we do it in country, so we always get out cash at the ATMs when we arrive. This does take a little bit of time to figure out which ATM gives you out the most cash for the lowest withdrawal fee, but there's a couple ways you can do that. First, we usually Google the ATM fees and try to see if there's any blogs that go over that specifically, or sometimes you just kind of have to try a few different ATMs and just kind of cancel the transaction once you see what the fee and allotted amount is, and then just try a few in the area until you can find the best value. You can often get out cash or exchange cash at the airport, but we don't really recommend doing this because it's usually a horrible exchange. So if you can get out cash from your credit card or debit card, we recommend doing that at a local ATM.
One of the biggest things to realize with this is that you need to check your bank fees before you do this, because if you go to an ATM and even if it's like the cheapest one you can find, there's often exchange rates to the currency that you're going into, and if you're using a credit card as well, there might just be an extra fee charge that's like another like $8 cash withdrawal. So just make sure that you're looking into that. I think we'll have another video with other tips on credit cards, but just look at your bank and your credit cards. Tip number 3 is to buy yourself a SIM card. Now, this really only applies when you are going to a country for more than a week and you're traveling around to different places, but it's nice to have a phone plan so you can, connect to the internet when you're not buying any Wi-Fi or anything, and it's often pretty cheap in a country, unless you buy it at the airport. So don't ever buy a SIM card at the airport. It's almost always like $60 more than it needs to be, and because in South America we would just go to the Claro store and it would be like $5 for the SIM card and $10 for the plan, and it was like a month of 10 gigs of data for $15. So instead of going $60 and then the plan on top,
Yeah, it's always better to just look at a little local shop.
Yeah.
And they usually have plans for 15 or 30 days, so it's a great option even if you're going for a 2-week trip to just be able to have some data for maps and communication. Tip number 4 is to rest. Make sure you build in some time to relax after a long travel day. This is something that we really learned the hard way, because I feel like when we get to a new country, we always want to get going and see a bunch of things, but we learned the hard way that you just really need to build in time to just rest when you first get to a country. It's often really stressful leading up to a trip and arriving in a place, and a travel day can be really exhausting, so don't book too much in your first couple days. Just give yourself time to just take everything in, maybe sleep a little bit extra, and just really take it slow for the first few days, especially if you're going to go to a place that has a big time change. You're going to be jet lagged. So just really build in time to rest and recover, because you will not regret it.
Plus you can just take more time to just, explore the city that you're in.
Yeah, exactly. Just enjoy it a little bit.
And tip number 5 is to talk to the locals. Now this is super important because the locals know everything. It's really great to get a local's perspective on wherever you're going, whether that's to do with security or recommendations or even transportation. You can talk to anybody on the street, or you can just talk to your Airbnb host or your hotel concierge, I guess.
Or anyone that works at a restaurant.
Literally anyone. People love talking about their own country. They'll give you tons of places to go see, lots of hidden gems as well. You probably won't even go see half the stuff they'll tell you to do because they'll just be so excited and you'll be like, how do I even get there? But yeah, it's just awesome. You just talk to people and people will help you out.
Yeah, and especially about security, we find that to be a big one to talk to locals about, because often people outside of the country have a lot of misconceptions about a country, but our rule is always, if a local tells us it's dangerous in a certain area of town or in a certain city, then we accept that as truth, but otherwise, you kind of just do as the locals do, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And make sure you subscribe for a full video about security. It's probably going to be linked up here at some point, and we'll see you in that video too. Too much?
I liked it.
Keep it.
I liked it.
Keep it in there. And as usual, before we get to our bonus tip, just make sure you comment below if you have any other tips that you have for other people going to a new country. We like to think that we have it all figured out, but
we don't.
We know that you have it all figured out, so put it in the comments. And
bonus tip! Go on a tour. We recommend this so much, whether it's a food tour, a museum tour, a walking tour, a bus tour. There's all sorts of different kind of budget tours that you can do. But we highly recommend doing this as one of the first things you do in a country, because we always find that it gives us such context for where we are and the history of a place. You get to know a few locals and you can just ask questions about a country, especially if you're going to be spending quite a bit of time in a country. It's so cool to just kind of set that basis for the rest of your travel there.
It's also really nice because if you go on a tour, if you are in, say, in like a Spanish-speaking country, the tour guides will speak English, so you can just ask them literally every question that you have in the book.
Even about travel
Even about travel there, so
can't recommend it enough.
Yeah, exactly. So, now you know everything you need to do when you get to a new country, but you need to know what you need to do before you go to that new country. So, go check out this video.
And make sure you subscribe because we have many more travel tip videos coming up here. And like this video if you like it. And we'll see you in the next one. Done.
Okay, awesome, Sarah.
2 for 2.
Yeah.
Jeepers creepers, man.
8 left.